This is Gidan Madi, the headquarters of Tangaza Local Government Area, and behind me is Kawuri. It is an international road that leads to Sahel countries like Niger, Burkina Faso and Mali. Now, while it opens up business opportunities for Nigerians and other West Africans, its boundaries have become a haven for Lakurawa terrorists who often attack neighboring communities.
Kawuri is a long and lonely road cutting through communities in Tangaza, Sokoto North Senatorial District. The local government area houses border communities to Sahelian countries and since 2020 have come under intense attack by the Lakurawa sect. They are a terrorist group strongly linked to ISIS and other terror groups in the Sahel. It is to eliminate these terrorists that the United States fired several missiles at Tangaza on Christmas Day. These exclusive drone images taken after the strike show the terrorist valley hideouts in Kawuri, Kandam and Malgam. Both communities have been cordoned by security operatives who are presently undertaking clearance operations within the vicinity, particularly to guard against unexploded missiles and blasts of improvised explosive devices planted by the terrorists.
For years, the road behind Gidan Madi has told a silent but frightening story. Kawuri Road, long, lonely, and stretching towards Niger Republic, Burkina Faso, and Mali, was meant to be a channel of trade and brotherhood across West Africa. Instead, it became a corridor of fear. Fear brought by a little-known but deeply violent terrorist group, the Lakurawa. Today, that story is changing because of missiles fired from the sky. Barely days before Christmas, reports began to circulate quietly in security circles and the media. A U.S. fighter jet stationed at an American airbase in Ghana had been flying into Nigerian airspace, gathering intelligence on terrorist hideouts in the northwest. Many Nigerians dismissed it as speculation, but on Christmas Day, speculation turned into reality. U.S. missiles struck Lakurawa terrorist enclaves in Kawuri, Kandam and Malgam, all in Tangaza Local Government Area of Sokoto State. The strikes were precise, they were devastating, and most importantly, they confirmed what many communities had known for years. The Lakurawa were deeply entrenched, heavily armed, and operating with confidence. Did you expect the U.S. to take direct military action inside Nigeria? Share your reaction in the comment section. The story of Lakurawa did not begin in Sokoto. They migrated from Mali and other troubled Sahel countries around 2020, fleeing military pressure and instability. The government of Niger Republic reportedly refused to allow them to settle on its territory. Nigeria, however, became their refuge. Under the Buhari administration, the federal government was fully aware of their entry, but no decisive action was taken to expel them. Whether due to political caution, intelligence failure, or fear of escalation, the result was the same. Lakurawa were allowed to settle. They chose Tangaza LGA, border communities like Kawuri, Kandam, and Malgam, areas difficult to police and close to international escape routes. From there, terror spread.
Now, let's look at the life of the people in the communities around the Lakurawa terrorist camps under the Lakurawa rule. Residents describe Lakurawa not as distant criminals, but as daily tormentors. They harassed villagers physically. They imposed extreme religious views. They rustled cattle, especially from indigenous Fulani communities, crippling livelihoods. They kidnapped, intimidated, and turned farmlands into killing fields. Economic activities collapsed. Agriculture stalled. Trade vanished. People fled. One local herbal medicine seller narrated how his entire livelihood was destroyed. They killed my monkey and my hyena that I used to entertain people to attract customers. They nearly killed me. My business was destroyed. Another resident said his village was completely sacked. How can dialogue work when entire communities are emptied and livelihoods destroyed? Tell us what you think. Tinubu took over, but the terror remained. When President Bola Ahmed Tinubu assumed office in 2023, many hoped the Lakurawa problem would finally be confronted. But months passed, attacks continued, communities remained under siege. It wasn't until renewed pressure from the United States, particularly under President Donald Trump's vocal stance against terrorism and alleged persecution of Christians in Nigeria, that things changed. Trump reportedly insisted that terrorists operating freely in Nigeria posed a regional and global threat and should be eliminated. Then came the missiles.
In Gidan Madi, Masalachi, and surrounding villages, residents described the Christmas Day strikes with vivid clarity. We heard loud sounds 3 times. It shook the foundations of our houses. Later, we saw fire. That fire, they say, was not in civilian homes, but deep inside Lakurawa camps. Residents confirmed that several terrorists were killed, while many others fled on motorcycles, abandoning their camps in panic. No innocent civilian deaths were reported by locals. For the first time in years, the fear shifted from villagers to terrorists. If you believe the voices of affected communities matter more than political arguments, please like this video. Critics in the north push back. Even before residents confirmed the success of the strikes, some northern critics moved quickly to dismiss them. They pointed to a missile that reportedly fell in a non-residential area of Jabu village in Tambuwal, LGA, claiming the US missed its target. Some even accused Donald Trump of lying. But those arguments collapsed when residents of Gidanmari and Masalachi openly confirmed that Lakurawa camps were hit and that terrorists fled in large numbers. Still, the north remains divided. Why do you think some people deny confirmed success, even when victims speak out? Drop your thoughts below. On one side are those praising decisive military action. They argue that dialogue has failed repeatedly and that groups like Lakurawa understand only force. On the other side are those still calling for negotiation, condemning the use of US firepower on Nigerian soil. Supporters of military action argue something deeper and more controversial, that some voices opposing force are complicit, benefiting politically, economically, or ideologically from the chaos. They point to years of insecurity that created donor funds, political leverage, and illicit profits. Subscribe to this channel if you want honest analysis without sugarcoating the truth.
The good news now is that normal life is slowly returning to the local communities. Perhaps the strongest evidence of success is not found in official statements, but in daily life. Residents say Lakurawa fighters have fled Kawuri, Kandam, and Malgam. Markets are reopening. Farmers are cautiously returning to fields. Roads that were once death traps are becoming passable again. Fear has not vanished, but hope has returned. Should security forces immediately occupy these areas to prevent terrorists from returning? Comment yes or no below. What happens next matters more than the bombs. Therefore, security experts warn that airstrikes alone are not enough. Ungoverned spaces must be occupied. Intelligence leakages must be blocked. Borders must be monitored, and the Nigerian state must assert permanent presence, because if these areas are abandoned again, terrorists will return. The residents know this, and they are watching closely. One critical question that this analysis seeks to explain is that could the airstrikes be a turning point or a temporary victory? The US airstrikes have done what years of empty threats could not. They broke the myth of Lakurawa invincibility. But the bigger question remains, will Nigeria sustain this momentum or retreat back into hesitation? Do you think this marks the beginning of the end for Lakurawa or just another pause in a long war? Share your view. For the people of Tangaza, this is not about geopolitics, Trump, or the US-Nigeria relations. It is about sleeping without fear, farming without guns pointed at their backs, trading without extortion, and for the first time in years, that future feels possible. Nigeria stands at a crossroads, and history will remember which path was chosen. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel.